anti-Israel hate...
No. The
Yes. No, if he's the mayor of London, then it doesn't matter. What you mean is Sadiq Khan, as a Muslim Pakistani who is genetically disposed to dislike...
What does that have to do with anything, Paul?
It has everything to do with it. It has everything to do with it.
Oh boy, does this get heated. Hello, Paul Cox here, and that was me last night on the GB News Late Show Live with Ben Leo hosting, debating with Sarah Firth, who is a left-leaning journalist, about the company Palantir. Palantir have been refused a Metropolitan police contract by Sadiq Khan as Mayor of London, from my perspective, because he is ideologically opposed with anyone who has had any association with Israel. But Palantir are much more complicated than that. They are almost a single source provider because they do something expert that many other companies can't do. But what was revealed in this conversation is that if you have had anything to do with Israel at any point, then you are evil. And I argue this. It takes a few twists and turns and gets very, very fiery. Check this out.
His decision appears to be based, at least in part, on Khan's political sensibilities, namely how he views the values and ethics of this American company. Why are Palantir so controversial as well?
Well, it's two different questions. One is the bidding question. Yeah, they should have an open, competitive bidding process and no sweetheart deals. So if that's his objection, it makes sense. And the second is the morality. I think they don't like the fact that Palantir sells to the Israeli Defense Forces, they sell to the American government and law enforcement. But someone's going to create this equipment and this technology and this software. This is just the way things are going. So the question is the company going to be able to do it safely, reputably? Is it value for money? And ultimately, is it going to make the people of London safer? I would imagine it probably would. Things like facial recognition, they have a definite downside. People worry about their data, but they also make it harder for people to shoplift and mug and commit crimes.
Yes, and Sarah, Palantir already have massive, huge contracts in the UK with the likes of the NHS, where I think they've been found to help reduce waiting lists, the MOD as well, other police forces outside the Met, where I think they've been proven to bring down crime and help link intelligence data together.
Yeah, I mean, look, Sadiq Khan's point is that when you're investing this type of money, taxpayer money, that you need to be thinking about where that money's going and be utilising companies that share the values of the City of London, right? And I do think it's worth pointing out. So last year, we're talking about, it's because they work with the Israeli military. I mean, what has happened in Gaza at the hands of the Israeli military, they've been accused of carrying out a genocide. So last year, when the Israeli military that Palantir work with and train, last year when the company's chief executive of Palantir, Alex Karp, was challenged that Palantir kills Palestinians in Gaza, he said, mostly terrorists. That's true. So, I mean, like, the guy is openly admitting and being very blasé about the role that Palantir has played
what's wrong with killing terrorists?
In what we've seen play out in Gaza, which by any measure has been abhorrent. I mean, you've got international investigations now. Netanyahu is wanted by the ICC. You've had so many women, children killed, the land destroyed.
Okay, so do you boycott all Israeli products? Because I think your water meter here in DC is made by an Israeli firm.
I accept that. What I would say is that, look, you can't go back and... I also think you don't, when it comes to what you're saying about the boycott movement, there is a very good argument for why that's not necessarily effective and can actually punish Palantir.
This is what it is. They're boycotting Palantir because
there are plenty of Israelis, Ben. There are plenty of Israelis who fully disagree with what their leadership has done in Gaza to Palestinians, right? So boycotting anything Israeli is ridiculous and anti-Semitic.
But that's what Khan's being accused of.
No, he's not. He's being accused. He's being accused of vetting which organisation gets a massive amount of money to provide services. Palantir is not the only one who can provide those services. Right, why are we going to give it?
Sarah, hang on
why are we going to give it to a company whose own chief executive has openly been very blasé about killing Palestinians?
Okay, so you support a boycott of Israeli
No, I support Sadiq Khan taking action to not.
Either you support a boycott or you don't.
Myself, I support him vetting which company and their values and their ethics and their involvement.
Which is a boycott.
Of Palantir, but I'm not saying boycott Israeli goods. I'm saying Palantir because of its.
What about Microsoft? I mean, if the Israeli Defense Forces, or let's say the Saudi Defense Forces, we use Microsoft.
Has Microsoft come out and said, yeah, we're involved in killing Palestinians?
No, and I'm sure Carr probably was taken out of context if he was saying that his equipment was used in operations that targeted and killed terrorists.
Palantir kills Palestinians in Gaza, and he said mostly terrorists. That's true. How on earth does he know that? How does he know that? Well, if you're going to supply a government that's been accused of war crimes, then our Mayor of London has every right to say, I'm sorry, we're not going to give you a £50 million contract, or however much it is. He's got every right to do that.
I will just say, well, that is approving boycotts. You say you don't approve boycotts, but that is a boycott. Well, that is an Israeli-linked boycott.
No, it's a decision that you make based on the companies available for the work.
No,
Ben, because a boycott would be.
You're saying any firm that works with the IDF and killing people in Gaza, you're not going to work.
I'm not,
so that's a boycott.
I don't think it's a boycott. I think a boycott would be calling for anything in London that had any relation to the Israeli government or ties to the Israeli government or put money in the Israeli military's hands should be stopped. And as I said, the problem with the boycott movement, which I fully agree with, the problem with BDS and the boycott movement is that it can scoop up and target Israelis who are, as I said, against what their government are doing in Gaza. But Sadiq Khan, this isn't a boycott. He has every right as the Mayor of London to look at...
To boycott.
Yeah, okay. If you want to use the term boycott...
I mean, it is, but a boycott doesn't have to be plural. It doesn't have to be...
I think it's right and proper that a company that makes those kinds of comments about killing Palestinians in such a blasé way is vetted.
Well, he referred to terrorists.
And you should probably listen to the whole interview. Karp is a smart guy. I've heard him on podcast after podcast. He's worth listening to at length and not just
not smart enough to avoid getting that soundbite reported in the media. He said it.
None of us is. You could pluck something out of the 3 hours we're going to do tonight and make any one of us look like a monster. It's easy to do.
I
think if you're talking about a boycott, so Sadiq Khan gets to say, I'm going to have a Russian company provide this surveillance technology, or an Iranian company.
But he wouldn't use a Russian company or an Iranian company because there would be serious ethical concerns with doing that. Not to mention national security concerns.
So who's left?
So there's serious concerns. Many companies who don't say in an interview, yeah, we kill Palestinians, they're terrorists.
Okay, let's get the thoughts of Paul Cox in London. Paul, thank you for your patience. Take it away.
So much to say on this, and I'm uniquely positioned to as well. I've worked in this sector, and I've also worked under Sadiq Khan for Transport for London, and I know the difference between single source and multi-source procurement, and I do know that it becomes incredibly political. I absolutely know that, but Palantir are unique. Palantir's AI and system software in defence and security is unique to Palantir. There are other companies in the world that do similar things, but the reason Palantir are so ubiquitous is because theirs is top-notch. If you are going to go for Palantir in order because you just want to exercise the hobby horse of Israel, then you've also got to look at the fact that Palantir work with Ukraine and they kill Russians in the same way. So is that good and bad? Also, the TfL and many companies from the government use companies like Serco, who I worked for 12 years. Serco work with Israel. Serco work with all sorts of people. They help house illegal immigrants. There are about 5 or 6 companies that I could say now without getting sued because they do all the things. All the things are for all the people. Palantir aren't... They're not pro-Israel, anti-Gaza. Palantir are pro-capitalist. And the reason that their CEO said, yes, we kill terrorists, is because that is part of their unique selling point. Their software can identify terrorists, whether that be Gazan terrorists, Israeli terrorists, Russian terrorists, or terrorists in the UK, and they can help those governments. They're not picking a side. Palantir are a capitalist organisation. It's no use making this an Israel thing, because if you do, then your argument falls down immediately, because it means that you're anti-Ukraine and pro-Russia. So it's a nonsense. It's an absolute nonsense. Palantir are very good at what they do, and there's a reason that the US and UK militaries use them. It just so happens they do some things the left agree with and some things the right agree with. It's just business. And there are G4S,
like providing technology to a military that is headed up by a man now wanted
Do you
by
want
the
Russians?
International
Do you support
Criminal
Ukraine?
Court for war crimes.
Do you support Ukraine?
Absolutely, that is a different
Then the same
conversation.
technology is being used.
No, come on. No, come
I'm
on.
not going to come on anything.
Do you agree?
Sarah, you're riding a hobby horse about Israel.
No.
This is just you going, Israel, Israel. I could now, Sarah, I could at this point go, that's entirely anti-Semitic.
By the Israeli military in a wholly unproportionate
no, Sarah,
way.
No,
I
don't care what your dinner party mates have told you. The answer's no. You are totally wrong on this. They are just using a top-end software that only Palantir can supply. It just so happens that Israel aren't stupid, so they use Palantir the same way the Ukrainians do, the same way US does, the same way Ukraine does. They're just making a choice.
I am genuinely curious then. What are the women and children who've been killed in Gaza by the Israeli military? Are they collateral damage? Are they terrorists? According to you, what are they?
Well, they are collateral damage.
No, Sarah.
Right,
I'm sorry that upsets you, but in war, civilians die, sadly, and nobody wants them to die.
I haven't heard you talking about Russians. I haven't heard you saying, oh my God, the Russians that have died. It's because you don't support the Russians. You happen to because you exist within an eco-bubble of anti-Israel hate.
No. The Russians invaded a sovereign nation when they invaded Ukraine. That is a completely different argument.
Do you remember the 7th of October 2023?
I've got nothing against Russians, and I would not argue if another country's military bombarded, razed to the ground parts of Russia, killing women and children, completely disproportionate, ignoring all rules of war. I would take issue with that too. I take issue when the Israeli military do it to Palestinians. I take issue with it, any country doing it to any other country's people.
Sarah, with respect, you've got a mic on, so you don't need to shout.
Every time the justifications for it, we've seen the numbers that have been killed. There is just no excuse for it.
Nobody's justifying it.
But everyone is justifying it. We've just let it happen. Netanyahu's still on the phone with Trump trying to work out a deal with Iran. The US, your government, and currently bombing Iran with the Israeli government, whilst Benjamin Netanyahu is wanted by the ICC. He came here, round the corner to the White House.
Okay, Sarah, can I ask you a question? Palantir has massive contracts with the NHS, where they brought down waiting lists.
There has to be a limit, guys.
With the MOD, they've got contracts with various police forces. Would you call for all those organisations, the NHS, the MOD, other police forces, to cut ties now with Palantir?
I think if it would depend on the scale and the cost. But yeah, I do think there's a genuinely strong ethical argument for not working with Palantir after what they've openly, publicly said about the killing of Palestinians.
Any thoughts on this before we move?
I'm 100% with Paul on this. They are a company that provides a service. It's a very good service. It is not designed to target civilians. It is used by agencies of various countries and militaries by various countries and by civilian, as you were saying, hospitals, all kinds of other organizations for a particular purpose. And if anybody misuses their product, that's the fault of the people who misuse it, not the fault of the company that
So they have no responsibility for holding accountable who they're giving their technology to. If it's being misused and proven to have been misused, who's accountable for that?
It's a free market, Sarah.
That's a whole different moral argument.
It's a free market. Just because you don't like one particular war, it does. What if they helped us?
Please,
what if we were at war?
Home weigh in. Come on. I mean, no, I don't think anyone. I don't think anyone agrees. Yeah, I want to read some comments.
Okay, I will say the comments have been flooding in. A lot have said, "Can you stop shouting?" Because
I've got a loud voice.
Microphone on.
Sorry.
Let me find you some comments, and you can respond to them because there are loads. Okay. GP said they are Hamas's responsibility. Do you remember October the 7th? Israel is a sovereign nation like Ukraine. What else have we got? Go to Gaza, they say, Sarah. Go to Gaza.
If Israel would let foreign correspondents into Gaza, I'd be there in a heartbeat reporting on what was happening on the ground. Believe me, Israel will not allow international media on the ground. That is a fantastic point.
Colin Lee, who's a member, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but he said the lowest number of civilian deaths in any modern conflict.
Well, that's absolutely incorrect. Can you find me some support for the point about Palantir being accountable?
The ratio of civilian civilians killed in close urban combat in Gaza is lower than in the Iraq War, the Afghan War, World War II. Just go down the list. It's not. No one is defending the killing of innocent people in war. No one is defending that. I'm just saying that statistically, I believe that comment is correct.
Anita has said, Sarah, the population of Gaza has risen by 2 million since October the 7th, 2023. How is that a genocide?
I mean, again, that's statistics that like, guys. Are we honestly still all this time later?
Well, hang on, you've sat here for 20 minutes calling it a genocide.
Yeah,
a genocide has a very distinct definition.
I've said they have been accused. They have been accused of genocide, and there are rules of war, and there are reasons for rules of war. So that what we've seen play out doesn't go without accountability and investigation. That's what I'm saying. Like, the problem with this is that it's like debating around it whilst you've seen what has happened. Like, I just don't think there is any justification for what the Israeli military have gone and done over the past couple of years. We all condemn and know what happened on October 7th was abhorrent, disgusting, despicable, and absolutely needed a response, and a military one at that.
What should the response have been?
Again, I'm not the head of Israel's military.
I'm saying they're committing a genocide.
What we've seen, what we have seen, and what we are still seeing today, which is aid being denied to the people on the ground despite the agreement that's in place. What I am saying calmly is that it should be investigated. That is right. And to come back to our original story at the point of all of this, as Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan has every right to look at the ethics and values of a company that's about to be awarded millions of pounds of British taxpayers' money and decide that the killing of women and children in Gaza and a country that is accused of genocide and who is wanted by the International Criminal Court maybe isn't a company you want to do business with.
Okay, Sarah, I take all your points on board, and I'll go back to one of the points I first made to you at the start of this conversation, which was I think your water meter here in DC is made by an Israeli firm.
Fantastic, I love Israelis.
But you could argue if that water meter was linked to the IDF.
Prove it
somehow,
to me, Ben, and then
but I'm saying if it was, would you get your water meter removed? Because there are lots of. By the way, I'm saying this because I used to work for the water board in the UK, and all our water meters, for the most part, are made by an Israeli firm. And even 20 years ago, people were trying to boycott them. So I'm saying if you found out that your water meter was made by a firm which has also worked with, say, the IDF, maybe they did some admin for them or something like that. They worked with the IDF. Would you get rid of your water meter?
If the water meter company were providing technology to the IDF that was killing Palestinians in Gaza,
you could also
yes,
say that about Boeing
I absolutely
as well.
would.
You'd have to stop flying on Boeing jets as well, by the way, because Boeing make, I think they make defence systems as well, which I'm probably sure have been used in Gaza. You stop flying on Boeing jets?
Ben, I completely agree that there is an issue when it comes to.
That's the same thesis. Boeing, I'm sure. I think they make defence, don't they? They make.
They do.
Boeing,
yes.
They make jumbo jets as well. So are you going to boycott all Boeing jets because they work with the Israeli?
You're asking me. So are you asking? Do I think that the boycott movement is a way that works in terms of holding accountable military?
Not whether it works or not, I don't know. But I'm saying if you feel so strongly about it, you're going to start boycotting Boeing jets. When you next book a flight back home to the UK, you make sure you're not flying a Boeing.
It makes it personal, and I understand what you're doing, and I understand what you're saying, and I think it is a question that we all ask ourselves, right? Like, how did we get here? How did we get into an age where we're just scrolling and seeing militaries around the world? Like, there are rules of war and international guidelines around how these things are prosecuted for a reason. So Netanyahu is wanted by the ICC now because of evidence that has been gathered by very legitimate teams, and then you've got Netanyahu coming to the White House. Like, no, I'm sorry,
Sarah,
no
they're probably using.
I just think.
Sarah, they're probably using Palantir to gather the evidence. You're aware of that, right? The very company that you want to cancel, and you want to boycott them because they're doing one thing you don't like. They're also doing a whole bunch of things you do support.
No, Paul, I am not calling to boycott Palantir. I am saying Sadiq Khan is very justified, more than justified, in deciding on the basis of Palantir's chief executive, the CEO, his own comments about the killing of Palestinians. He's very justified in saying
what makes him justified?
That's not a company that aligns with our British values.
What makes Sadiq Khan? What makes him justified to make that decision? Because you're making it sound as if it's Sadiq Khan. No, if he's the mayor of London, then it doesn't matter. What you mean is Sadiq Khan, as a Muslim Pakistani who is genetically disposed to dislike.
What does that have to do with anything, Paul?
It has everything to do with it. It has everything to do with it. Everything. It's undeniable.
Okay, gbnews.com/you'll say.
Well, I'm denying it.
Lots of comments on this. Yeah.
Well, that was really enjoyable. Look, fair play to Sarah. She has her views. I have mine. And the GB News family have theirs too. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this content, if you like me, please subscribe, like, hit the notification bell. You can follow me at Paul Cox Comedy on all forms of social media. But until next time, keep it real.